Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottama Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Urijate Nastaprayashu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki. So today we'll continue our discussions and reading from the 5th canto. We're on text 41, and the chapter's title is Forest of Enjoyment. So I'm just going to read word for word, and then we'll read the translation. Karma Valiam. The creeper of fruitive activities. Avalyam Lirya. Taking shelter of. Tatha, from that. Apadha, dangerous or miserable condition. Katha nichit, somehow or other. Naradkat, from the hellish conditions of life. Vimukta, being freed. Punha api, again. Evam, in this way. Samsara adhavdani, on the path of material existence. Vartam manaha, existing. Naraloka sa artham, the field of self-interested materialistic activities. Apyayanti, he enters. Evam, thus. Apri, above, in the higher planetary systems. Gata api, although promoted. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. When the conditioned soul accepts the shelter of the creeper of fruitive activities, he may be elevated by his pious activities to higher planetary systems, and thus gain liberation from hellish conditions. But unfortunately, he cannot remain there. After reaping the results of his pious activities, he has to return to the lower planetary systems. In this way, he perpetually goes up and comes down. Purport. In this regard, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Brahmananda Brahmiti Kona Bhagavayam Jiva Guru Krishna Prasade Paya Bhakti Latabish. This is from Madhya Lila 19:151. Even if one wanders for millions of years, from the time of creation until the time of annihilation, one cannot get free from the path of material existence unless one receives shelter at the lotus feet of a pure devotee. As a monkey takes shelter of the branch of a banyan tree and thinks he is enjoying, the conditioned soul, not knowing the real interests of his life, takes shelter of the path of karma kanda, fruitive activities. Sometimes he is elevated to the heavenly planets by such activities, and sometimes again he is descended to earth. This is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as Brahmanda Brahmati. However, if by Krishna's grace one is fortunate enough to come under the shelter of the Guru, by the mercy of Krishna he receives lessons on how to execute devotional service to the Supreme Lord. In this way, he receives a clue on how to get out of his continuous struggles up and down within the material world. Therefore, the Vedic injunction is that one should approach a bona fide spiritual master. The Vedas declare, Tad vijnanartham sa gurum eva bighi gachat hit. Mukunda Upanishads. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita 4:34, the Supreme Personality of Godhead advises, Tad vidhi pranipasena seva upadikshyanti te jnanam jnanasanan tattva darshanan. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. Srimad Bhagavatam 11:3-21 gives similar advice. Tasmad gurum prapadyante jignasu surya utamam sabde paracha nishnatam brahmani upassanmarsanam. Any person who seriously desires to achieve real happiness must seek out a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. The qualification of the spiritual master is that he must have realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and be able to convince others of these conclusions. Such personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, leaving aside all material conditions, are to be understood as bona fide spiritual masters. Similarly, Vishwanath Chakravarti, a great Vaishnava, also advises, by the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the mercy of Krishna. This is the same advice given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Guru Kripa Prasade Paya Bhakti Lata Bij. This is essential. One must come to the conclusions and therefore must take shelter of a pure devotee. And thus one can become free from the clutches of matter. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Paskatya Desatarine. So it's a little cold today, so everyone hopefully can get a little bit fired up by hearing, and I will also try to become warm by speaking, Shravanam and Kirtanam. So this is our legacy left to us by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So the title of this chapter is The Forest of Enjoyment. But I think they should also include in this title a question mark, because as we have read from the beginning of this chapter up until this point, there has been no indications of anybody enjoying anything. Going through descriptions of the different varnas and the ashrams and the perplexities that are imposed on those living in these different ashrams and their responsibilities, and how the modes of material nature are affecting our daily lifestyles. All of these are for causing us to be confused and endure suffering and miseries with a little bit of icing on the top. And when we taste that sweetness, we think, this is a wonderful place. It's like the punishment that they used to inflict on prisoners, which was called dunking. They would put them in a chair and lower them into the water of a river or a lake. And just when they couldn't endure 1 second more, they would raise them up, and one breath of air they could take in. And that moment they were relieved from all of the distress of being submerged into the water. So this is a condition that we are faced with every day in this material world. So in reality, we know there is no enjoyment when one identifies with, as it says at the very end, matter. We can enjoy in this material world by what we are doing now, associating with devotees, listening to katha about the personality of Godhead, looking at His form, coming to His holy dham. In this way, we can take pleasure, but this is not part of the forest of enjoyment. This is another forest which I will discuss later. We know that we can elevate ourselves by pious activities, even up to the highest planetary systems, and live for very long durations of life where pleasures are unbelievable. If we think that within this material realm, what is the most pleasurable thing? Maybe having a big car or a nice home, a beautiful wife or handsome husband, nice children, a bank balance, and opulent foods. But just like on the moon planet, where they have access to Somaras. Somaras is so intoxicating that we cannot even imagine the pleasure the demigods take from drinking this and then frolicking in the forests and in the lake regions with the apsaras, the beautiful damsels from the heavenly planets. But those who are living in such opulence, they are also in illusion. They think that there will be no end to this, but in the material world there is a beginning, and there will also be an end to all of these activities. So, as it says, we may elevate ourselves to the highest planet, but at one point we will fall down again. And there are millions and trillions of life forms, and who knows, from a demigod to a swine or a pig, or even worse, there are other entities in lower planetary systems. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, Shri Shri Krishna Balaram, Shri Shri Radhe Shyama Sundar, Hari 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 Bol. So there are millions and trillions of living entities in the upper, middle, and lower planetary systems. And all of them are being engaged in different activities by Maya, by the material energy. And all of them are in this delusion that they are enjoying. So, just like now, it's very cold, so everyone is bundled up with hoodies and chadors and sweaters, and still the cold is there. We cannot avoid it. And this is meant as a form of enjoyment? No, this is meant to wake us up, saying, why? Why am I having to endure this type of environment? So when we come to that point where we begin to ask why, we have a friend, and this friend has been with us from time immemorial. And that friend is, of course, Krishna, who is called Chaita, Chaita Guru. Chaita means what? Chaita means sitting. And where is Krishna sitting? He is sitting within our heart, right next to us, watching us go to the heavenly planets, coming down again to the lower planetary systems, suffering repeated births and deaths, enduring so many hardships here within this material world. And then, at that moment when we become inquisitive and begin to inquire, Chaita Guru will oblige us. And how does he do this? The Chaita Guru will manifest himself in the form of a physical, spiritual master. But among all of the living entities in the material world, very, 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 very few are truly interested in finding out why we have to sit here in the freezing cold, or endure the extreme heat, or grow old and die. No, they're continually thinking and believing that, oh, just around the corner there will be some form of enjoyment for us. But the wise man knows better. And this person is very lucky. Bhagavad Gita tells us, Bahunam janmanamante jnana prajate vasudevam sarvamiti sabmahatma suladalam. So one who is truly searching after knowledge is very, very, very rare. And among all of those who are in search of knowledge of the absolute truth, only one out of all of those will actually attain success. So we are sitting here. We are all endeavoring to different degrees to cleanse ourselves from the contaminations of this material energy and associate fully with the Supreme Lord and escape from the clutches of matter. But to what degree are you surrendering? That will determine if you are that one out of thousands and thousands and thousands who attain success. So by a show of hands, how many are that one who is going to complete this life and go back to Godhead? Let me see your hands. Most people are not very confident. You see, one person, two persons. But this should be the forefront of our thoughts at all times, because by recognizing Chaitya Guru within our heart, and then by his mercy being introduced to a true spiritual master, we can achieve that in this lifetime. Prabhupada had been asked many, many times, how long does it take to become Krishna conscious? And he said, 1 second is all it takes. And who can give an example? In 1 second, who became Krishna conscious? Yes, and also Gajendra. Gajendra also. It takes only 1 second to become Krishna conscious. But we want to prolong because we have another agenda. I will do seva, I will do service to a certain degree. But still, I think I can enjoy here. There are many things that I want to accomplish. So I won't put my full effort into this process of Krishna conscious. No, I will do just enough to get by. But I will harbor within my heart material desires to enjoy something that has attracted my eye or my sense of smell or my taste. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am the friend of everyone. Nobody is my enemy. But a person who is devoted to me and engaged in devotional service to me, I show him special attention by letting him meet a bona fide spiritual master. This is not reserved for a certain class of individual. Krishna is not partial to one nation, one sex, one caliber of individual. No, he is there to give his mercy to anybody, depending on their caste, their class, their educational background. All can be eligible to receive this mercy. So the example that Srila Prabhupada gives is that of Narada Muni. So for us, Narada Muni is the most exalted, but he was the son of a maidservant. From very humble beginnings, he would assist his mother while she, in a hermitage, washed the clothes and cleaned the rooms of saintly people. But the saintly person is very compassionate, and they offered to allow Narada Muni to hear, their discussions on the Vedic literatures. And by this hearing process, the seed of devotion began to manifest itself within Narada Muni's heart. And as a result of this, we can see that today he can travel to any planet just by the thought, by his mind, playing on his veena and instructing others on this process of getting free from material energy. So Krishna is ready to give us all eternal life. That is what we want, because why? We are eternal. We are growing older day by day. This becomes perplexing, and for many it causes great mental anxiety because they don't understand, why is my skin wrinkling? Why am I becoming decrepit? Why are my fingers and hands becoming arthritic? Why? I don't feel this way. That's because they are identifying with their body. But Krishna will give you eternal existence by waking you up from this bodily conception. And he does this by manifesting himself in the form of the spiritual master. And how quickly this will come to us depends on our eagerness. We have to be 100% eager, put everything else aside, and be determined that I will be successful in self-realization. So when this happens, Krishna will show you, there is the person that can give you the information, the instructions, and the knowledge by which you can become free. It's just like in the Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna began the Bhagavad Gita by having a friendly conversation with Krishna. And when they were having friendly conversations, knowledge was not being imparted to Arjuna. This was not enough. It wasn't until Krishna heard from the lips of Arjuna, he said, "Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of weakness. In this condition, I am asking you to tell me what is clearly best for me. I am your disciple, and now I am a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me." So then, at that point, the instructions of Bhagavad Gita began, and we know the conclusion, that Arjuna became completely surrendered. But this is not blindly surrendering, because if you surrender to someone, you must also be able to inquire. We know that in Bhagavad Gita, this was a dialogue, questions and answers, questions and answers. Paripasena, this means to inquire, but your inquiries must be done in a submissive attitude, not that you want to challenge. There were many times that Prabhupada was having discourse with guests and even some of his disciples, and they would want to show how intelligent they were, or trick or catch Srila Prabhupada off guard, and they would challenge him. But of course, Srila Prabhupada was able to defeat all comers. It didn't matter who they were, where they were from, what educational background they had. He was able to smite them and defeat them by his knowledge, by his surrender, because he is that soul who has completely surrendered. But when you approach the spiritual master, you must also have proper qualifications. Just like if I come to India here, I just can't walk right in past all the security and get in a taxi and go wherever I like. I must have my documents in order. This is praniprastena, which means having the proper qualifications, and being able at that point, with my proper qualifications, submissively inquire to that knowledgeable person who can save us. So once we receive knowledge from these great liberated souls, we become indebted to them. And this is where sevana comes in. It's not that you come to the spiritual master, take whatever he gives, and then say, sayonara, I'm going now. No. Now you must render service. And Prabhupada has given us instructions. For Prabhupada, the highest service that you can do for Srila Prabhupada is what? No. No. Distribute my books. This is what Srila Prabhupada spent his life manifesting. And then he said on many occasions, if you want to make me happy, distribute my books. So when we take the instructions of the spiritual master seriously, our reward is that we will lose our attachment, just like Prabhupada in the very last part of the purport says, thus one becomes free from the clutches of matter. So now we are in a chokehold by the material energy, and we are suffering, whether we will admit it or whether we are blinded so much that we cannot even realize it. We have been fortunate enough to come in contact with that person who has the key that will unlock the shackles of this material energy and allow us to, in this very lifetime, go back home, back to Godhead. So, in the beginning, only one person said that they were going to make this journey in this lifetime. But now I want to see everybody's hand in the air saying, I will go back home, back to Godhead in this very lifetime. If you do not, then you are an unqualified disciple, because it says that a disciple must have the qualifications to inquire. And the qualifications means that he will follow the instructions of the spiritual master. So if you follow the instructions of the spiritual master, the conclusion is that this process works and you will go back to Godhead. So don't let that thought exit from your consciousness. Keep it in the forefront of your daily activities, and remember that the sole purpose for us being here is to get out and go home back to Godhead. So the title of this chapter again is The Forest of Enjoyment, but in this forest there is nothing but suffering. But here we are living in a place where there are 12 forests. 5 of these forests are on that side of the Jamuna, and 7 of the forests are on this side of the Jamuna. And in these forests, Lord Krishna carried out different pastimes, killed many asuras, frolicked with the gopis, played with his cowherd boyfriends, lived with his mother and father here. So these are truly the forests of enjoyment. So when you go out into the streets and see and hear the honking of cars and bicycles and confusions, don't become illusioned by this external nonsense. You look for these 12 forests, and you go there, and within your mind you will see the bale trees where Krishna and his friends would enjoy the fruits. You will hear the sound, and you will see the games that Krishna would play with his friends, and how he would trick the gopis. One of the forests, Krishna would disguise himself as a boatman and offer to take the gopis across the river in his boat. But in the middle of the river, he would say, "Oh, my boat is old, and your milk bucket's way too much, so you have to throw your milk overboard, otherwise we're going to sink." And the young naive girls would do this, and then Krishna would reveal himself and laugh and laugh. And so if we meditate on these transcendental pastimes, we will find that pleasure that will give us the ability and the endurance to suffer out any type of extreme unfavorable conditions that material energy imposes on us here in this life. Knowing that the reward is death. And death, for Vaishnavas, it says that Vaishnavas live to die, because they know at the time of death they will give up this material gross body. They will assume their true spiritual swarup, and they will enjoy eternity in the spiritual world. So let's make a pledge to become serious, dhira, grave, and all of us together go back to Godhead. Not just one bahunam janmanamante, not one out of thousands, but thousands and thousands out of thousands will all go back home. Thank you. Any questions? Yes.